Welcome, everyone. My task is an easy one, and that is simply to give welcome remarks. My name is Professor Mankutam, also known as Tracy Keith Flemming. I am the acting director of the Kwabena and Nketia Centre for Africana Studies, and I also serve as an associate professor in the School of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences at the university. So good afternoon, distinguished guests, scholars, students, and friends of the Kwabena and Nketia Centre for Africana Studies at the African University of Communications and Business. On behalf of the center, I warmly welcome you to today's session of our Africana webinar series themed JUJU, an Interfaith Perspective. This series serves as a prelude to our forthcoming Professional Development Certificate in Africana Divinity Studies, which explores the deep spiritual and philosophical as well as scientific dimensions of African sacred traditions. Today's conversation invites us to move beyond stereotypes, to understand JUJU not as a superstition, but as a complex knowledge system that links faith, energy, and humans, and human creativity across traditions. We are particularly honored to have Nana Gyawu-Kyem of the Bantama Royal Palace as our main speaker. His insights from the royal and spiritual heritage of Asanteman will deepen our interfaith appreciation of African metaphysics and divine intelligence. We are also delighted to premiere Muhammida Muhajir's short film, When Malcolm Smiled, as a part of the Sankɔfa film series. This is a reflection on heritage, return, and the enduring legacy of African consciousness in motion. May today's discussion inspire us to re-engage African spiritual science with intellectual honesty, cultural pride, and a sense of communal renewal. Once again, welcome to the Kwabena and Nketia Centre for Africana Studies, where tradition meets critical inquiry, and the past speaks powerfully to the present. Thank you very much.
Okay, so once again, thank you very much for being part of this discussion that we are going to be having today. This will be like the continuation of many other lecture series that we are going to be having. So I would just give a brief introduction of the speaker, the next person to come in. He's in the person of Gyawu-Kyem. He's going to be having some talks with us, like Professor Flemming said, on the series that we've done so far, JUJU, and how it is not a bad thing like the way people say. So far, we've had insightful conversations with him, and hopefully, as he comes on, he'll be able to tune our mind to the right things that we are supposed to know about our culture and more. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Let us put our hands together for Gyawu-Kyem. Thank you very much.
Ago.
Amen.
Ago.
Amen.
Ago.
Amen.
It's always a pleasure and it's always a blessing for me to be here at this great institution to share knowledge with each and every one of us. For the past 3 weeks, we have delved deep into the metaphysics, the science, the understanding of a taboo subject, a subject that has broken families, a subject that has created fear a subject that has actually incited people to turn their back on African spirituality, a subject that is glaring in front of all of us. However, we are very much afraid to speak about it. And I'm talking about the concept of JUJU. People have different names that they call it. JUJU, you know, the diasporans, they put a little slang to it, JUJU. You know, some say JOJO, you know, but the real word is JUJU. And for the past 3 weeks, or the past 2 weeks, we've actually been defining and redefining the concept for us to understand that it is not something that is outside of us. It is an integral part and parcel of our DNA. It is a part and parcel of our genetics. It is part and parcel of our fiber as a society. So with a short recap, if somebody could give me a quick understanding of what they understand by the concept of JUJU before I continue, I'll be very, very happy. I need that person to come to the podium. Can somebody step up to this podium and just give us a brief on JUJU? I know you all have it in you. Annie, could you please step up and just give us a small brief? No, come up to the podium. Yes. Let's welcome Annie. She's a very faithful student, very good student.
I'm quite faithful.
I think I wrote down here, I have JUJU is the science of energy, of matter, and intention in the physical and spiritual worlds. And when we first started initially, we learned that JUJU is part of us. It's part of our DNA. It's not something that's dark or that's, you know, mystical. It's really who we are. So we are all JUJU people. And what makes it profound is that it's so connected to our healing and our existence. And when we go outside of that, something is off and something is broken. And what we've been taught repeatedly about JUJU is that it's this dark, it's about rituals, it's about sacrifices. But it's not, it is our inherent spiritual practice. It's very much so connected to us. It's not something we got from elsewhere. It's something that is as real as our hands, our feet. It is really our power. And it is our power, it's our practice, and it is like spiritual and physical coming together. And what is beautiful about it is that it really connects humanity, nature, and science. So it's not something that's just somebody made up and is like, is iffy and washy. It's as dependable as any proven science because it is who we are. And the fact that we exist means JUJU is real. So that's it.
Thank you very much. I think you have actually clarified a point way beyond my expectation. And like you said, JUJU is a part and parcel of our everyday existence. It's something that lives in us. So basically, what we've been defining for the past 2 weeks is the etymology of that science called JUJU. The reason why people shun away from JUJU, the reason why people run away from JUJU, the reason why people look at it with a negative eye is that most people are afraid of the unknown. And it is unknown if you cannot define it. However, if you can define it, if you can put a definition to it, then it does not become scary no more. So before I proceed with today's lecture, which is a short one and a very interactive one, I would like for us to recap the etymology of the science of JUJU. JUJU, like I said, is from the root word ejo. Ejo. Ejo is from the Fong word. The Fong is the mother tongue of the Ewe language. The Ewe language evolved from Fong. Fong is spoken in Benin. It's one of the official languages of Benin. So in Fong language, fire is called ejo. Ejo. This fire, aside the fact that the fire is known as ejo, is figuratively also means energy. So there are two types of energies that exist in the universe: the internal energy and then the external energy. The energy that is within you and the energy that is actually in the cosmos, which is in the universe, the energy in the plants, the energy in the animals, the energy in the stones, the energy in the river bodies, the energy in the sea, the energy in the sun, the energy in the moon, the energy in the stars. All these ones have ejo, they have energy. So once the internal chi, the internal ki, the internal prana, once all those things connect to the external, then you have a word called ejo, ejo. The two fires, the two anime coming into play to become one. So ejo, ejo, with the passage of time became ejojo. Ejojo. With the passage of time became jo, which still means the two energies. Jo. With the passage of time became ju. So when we talk about juju, we are not talking about sacrifices like my sister said. We are not talking about dark magic. We are not talking about anything that has to do with human sacrifice. We are actually talking about something as basic as digestion. Without juju, your body cannot digest food. Without juju, your body cannot go to sleep. Without juju, your body cannot move. Without juju, your body cannot assimilate to the environment. Now, why do I say juju plays a role in basic things, everyday things like digestion? Like I was explaining last week, if you eat, every food that you eat contains its own ejo. If you take the beans contains its own energy. The energy in the beans that the energy gives your body is in the form of what? Proteins. Protein is an energy. It's an energy source. So protein is an ejo. But that ejo is contained in the beans. Now when you eat the beans, your body requires the enzymes to be able to digest the beans, to be able to extract all the nutrients from the beans and then feed it to your cells so that your body can be strong. All the digestion, the extraction, and everything that your body requires also requires ejo, energy. So when that energy is consumed into your body, which is from an external source, and then your body goes through the process of digestion, the energy that your body requires to digest the ejo and extract the ejo in the beans, that basic process can be equated to ejo and ejo. Ejojo, jojo, and what? Juju. So basically digestion is a form of juju. So I hope that makes it very clear at this particular point in time. And so today's topic, I wanted to touch on the interfaith perspectives of juju. All religions, all philosophies, all spiritual systems actually require one thing to what? To function. Every religion, every philosophy, every understanding, every path has a set of rights, a set of systems, a set of do's and don'ts, a set of beliefs and disbeliefs. Now, these sets of systems and the practices that go with it is what we determine as what? Rituals. Ritual is anything that is done on a continual basis. Everything you do on a continual basis is a ritual. When it's in the morning, you wake up from sleep, it's a ritual. You wash your face, you brush your teeth, it's a ritual. When you wake up from bed, some people, the first thing they do is to drink coffee. That is a ritual. You bathe, you do this, you do that, you go to work at this particular point in time, and then you close around this time. That is a ritual. However, these rituals are in two forms. There are rituals that are actually giving energy, or that gives energy to the physical body, and there are rituals that actually give energy to the spiritual body. So these rituals that are set out in all these different religions and in different philosophies and in different paths, these rituals like prayers, like meditation, like sound, like candle burning, like incense burning, like ritual babes, divination systems and all those things. They add complementary energy to your spirit. So every ritual, every rite that you perform that actually activates the spirit, being it libation, being it ritual bath, being it candle burning, being it incense, being it any other thing that adds value to the spirit, that feeds the spirit, is what makes it spiritual. Spiritual is a combination of two words, spirit and what? Rituals. So without rituals, you cannot feed your spirit. The spirit is there, but sometimes the spirit, the energy, the anime can become dormant. So you need a set of ceremonies, you need a set of prayers, you need meditation, you need fasting, you need something that you do on a continual basis as a ritual to activate that spirit, and that makes it a spiritual path. So let me take that again. Any set of rituals or any set of rites, any set of performances that you do on a regular basis to activate your energy, your spirit level, is a spiritual practice, because it is a ritual that you perform on a daily basis to be able to feed your spirit. That makes it spiritual. Yes.
So how does religion then really diffuse our spiritual practice or our JUJU? Because religion often comes with its own mandated ways of thinking, ways of doing, ways of being. But being spiritual really is like finding your own rhythm. So how does religion many times offset the path?
Religion and spirituality are bedmates. It's like God and the devil. God and the devil are bedmates. 90% of people go to church because they are afraid of the devil. 90% of people go to church because they are afraid of hellfire. Because people want to go to heaven. That is the main basic thing why people go to church. People go to church to go and serve God. But why do people go to church to go and serve God? Because they are afraid of something called the devil. So people go to church to go and do what? Seek refuge. Just like in Islam, they have something called A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim. A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim. Meaning I seek refuge in Allah from the whims and caprices of Shaitan or the devil. I seek refuge in Allah against Shaitan. So why would Muslims seek refuge in Allah if there was no Shaitan? They seek refuge in Allah because of Shaitan. So religion has been able to equate everything into two forms, where this is black, this is white. Is either black or white. This is God, this is the devil. This is heaven and this is hell. That is the main selling point of religion. However, in spirituality, it can even be customized, just as in Ifa. Ifa is customized to you based on your energy level, based on your flow, based on your strength, based on the office, based on the gift that you carry. That will determine your customized path. So spirituality actually gives us some form of leeway where we get to experience outside of the box. However, religion is more of well-defined within that box that you need to do what? Practice. But then, don't get me wrong, religion has as much power as spirituality. However, religion does not afford you much freedom as spirituality. Now we have, imagine just in Adabraka here, imagine the number of churches in my locality alone. We have not less than 20 churches in my locality alone. That is not even a catchment area in Adabraka. So imagine all the churches in the different catchment areas. And imagine all the churches within the Adabraka municipality. And then imagine all the different churches in the different municipalities that actually make up what? The constituency called the Klote Kole. And now imagine all the different churches that make constitute the constituency, and then add all that to the region, Greater Accra region. Now, add all these churches to all the 12 regions of Ghana, right? All the 16 regions of Ghana. Now, all these 16 regions of Ghana, add all these churches, and then add the rest of West African churches to it. Now, add all the West African churches, including the East African churches, the South African churches, and the North African churches to it. That is, we are only talking about Africa alone. Now, let's move outside of Africa, right? And let's take it by village, by town, by constituency, by whatever, into countries, and then go into Europe. Now, let's go into America. Let's go into Europe. Let's go into America. Now let's go into Asia. Let's go into all these places and see how many of these churches exist. So if you have all these churches, these millions of people, right? Everybody saying in the name of who? In the name of Jesus. So if you have over 1 billion people calling on the name of Jesus, that is power. That is undeniable power. You might agree with it or not, but 1 million people calling on the name of Jesus is crystallized power in the cosmics. So that is when the pastor can come in and say, in the name of Jesus, in the name of the 1 million people that have crystallized this power by virtue of the ejo in them, I command this to happen. The crystallized power will do what? Will make it manifest. So Christianity, Islam, Hindu, Buddhism, they all have power. Religion has a lot of power. However, religion does not give you enough freedom outside of the box, outside of the main station. It does not give you the experimental to be able to go out there and experiment for yourself what works personally for you. It deals more with a collective understanding of this is where we are going, so everybody needs to follow that. Now imagine 5 o'clock a.m. or 5 a.m. and then this same number of mosques here in Adabraka alone, then this same number of mosques in the constituency, the same number of mosques in Greater Accra region, the same number of mosques, you understand, add all to the 16 regions of Ghana, and then divide that or add to all the churches or all the mosques in West Africa, all the mosques in Africa, all the mosques across the world, and everybody is saying Allahu Akbar. You have billions of people saying Allahu Akbar. During Ramadan, you have billions of Muslims doing what? Fasting, collectively, consciously. What does that mean? It is collective power that is being put out there, and it crystallizes. Because everything that you say over a period of time crystallizes, and then it becomes a force. Just like libation. When you pour libation, what you do whilst pouring libation is that you are actually sowing seeds in the cosmos. The words that we are speaking right now is what? Seeds. So you can say something beautiful to somebody, and then they will find relief. Or you can say something very nasty to somebody, and that can be something that can hurt their mind, their body, and their soul, and their spirit. Because it is a seed, it will fester, it will grow. So you have all these traditionalists. Every morning we go to the temple, we go before our shrine, and then we pour libation either by gin, by water, by soda, by whatever liquefied form, and then we call on the Creator and we call on the ancestors. What do you think we are doing? We are crystallizing energy. We are crystallizing power. So the basic understanding of all these movements, all these paths, all these ways of, approaching the Creator, all to a very large extent, has to deal with crystallization. Crystallization. Pray. Push until something happens. Pray until something what? Happens. Prayers can be in different forms. It can be verbal. It can be mental, it can be active. When somebody is sick and you pay them a visit, you've actually prayed for them. When somebody is hungry and the person approach you and you give them food, you give them bread, it's a form of prayer. Prayers does not necessarily mean to go down on your knees and do what? Be verbal about it. So now let me switch into what some of the similarities that you find in terms of the JUJU, in terms of the ejo, that you find in the different religious settings. For example, let's take Islam for instance. Water is an extremely important element that is used in worship in almost all the religion or the religious settings. If you come into Islam, the first thing someone does before they approach the sujada, which is the prayer mat, is to what? To ablute. Now, do you know why Muslims ablute? Does anybody know why Muslims ablute? Okay, let me show you why Muslims ablute. The first point of ablution is to wash the hands, the palms and the hands. Right? The second form of ablution is to wash your mouth. The third point of ablution is to wash the face. The fourth is the nose. The fifth is the ears, the feet, and then the crown chakra. Now I'm going to explain it in total for you to understand. When you wash, or when Muslims wash their hands, right? The Sufi understanding of washing the hands is purification of the sense of touch. They purify the sense of touch. When Muslims wash their mouth 3 times, they're actually purifying their sense of taste. When Muslims wash their nose 3 times, what they actually do is actually purify their sense of what? Smell. When they wash their face and then wash their eyelids or wash their eyes, what they actually do is purify what? The sense of sight. And then they will wash their ears, the sense of what? Hearing. And then they will wash their feet and wash the crown chakra. Now, this is where I want us to pay attention. They wash the feet. The last place is to wash the crown chakra. The feet is the sole of their feet. They wash their feet and the sole of their feet. The sole of the feet is the direct, is in direct communication with the earth. And when they wash the crown chakra is actually is the nearest part of your body to the heavens. So when a Muslim goes through, I'm not talking just any ordinary Muslim, I'm talking Sufis, Sufi Muslims who are spiritual and understand these things that I'm talking to you about. Not the normal around the meal, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, you understand? And everything has to begin and end with Muhammad. No, those are not the type of Muslims I'm talking about Sufi, the Sufis. Because they understand these things. So after they have purified themselves through the senses, after they have purified themselves through the senses, then what happens is they purify the communication between earth and the communication between heaven. When it is done that way, then a Sufi is ready to come and stand facing the east, the source of life, and ready to do what? To pray. I will get back to that particular place. We'll go deeper into this, but then I also want to give you another juxtaposition that has to do with Christianity. If you go into a typical Roman Catholic church, there's something that is outside of the door before you enter into the church. Has anybody been a Catholic before? Or is anybody a Catholic? Water. That's the first thing you meet in front of the Roman Catholic Church. And what do you do with the water? You bless yourself. Just the same way Muslims need to purify to do what? To go and pray. Before you enter into the Catholic Church, there's water. That's the first thing you do. You dip your hands and then you bless yourself. It's water. Water is a prerequisite. Before you can become a Muslim, right, you need to do something called wankan, Serkin wankan, which is like the big bath. Which is the big bath. You need to bath. They need to bath you and purify you, you know, and then you can become a Muslim. But there is a specific way that you do this bath. There are places you wash first, places you wash second, places you wash last. And then all those are ritual types of washing your body to become a Muslim. So why does one need to undergo a wash with what? Water to become a Muslim. And to become a Christian, you have to undergo a water wash. That is called baptism. But Islam is called Serikin Wanka, but in Christianity it's called what? Baptism. We could have all just become Muslims without having to go through the bath. We could have all become Christians without having to go through the bath. But why is it that when it is time for the traditionalist to perform his ritual bath, that has to become a bone of contention? Why must the Muslims be able to do that without nobody questioning them? The Christians do that, nobody questions them. Hindus do it, nobody questions them. Buddhists do it, nobody questions them. But when Nanabi brings out a big calabash and then fetch 3 sources of river bodies and do what I need to do, that has to become something that becomes a bone of contention. But why is it that when it's time for the traditionalists to do it, that becomes a bone of contention? Because we have not yet understood the dynamics. We have not yet understood how these things affect all of us. So the Serikin Wanka, which is done in Islam as a form of baptism, that same thing is also done in Christianity, because you need to be baptized with water. Before you can become a priest or priestess, you need to go through initiation. After your initiation, you need to take you to the river body to go and do your bath. That is the traditional baptism. Even when a young lady menstruates for the first time, in Akan tradition, the first thing that is done is they will take the pad that the blood is on it, and then they will show it to the whole community, make an announcement that this young lady, you know, has seen her first menstrual flow. So her aunties will rush to the Queen Mother's palace. There will be a big deba, and then they will call the priests, the priestesses. They will call the elders of the community, and then they will take this young lady to the riverside. They will take this young lady to the riverside. They go and shave the young lady there, bury the hair near the riverside, put some herbs together, fetch the river, and let her bathe in the what? River. That is the traditional way of baptizing a young lady into womanhood. You see where the baptism is? So Muslims perform baptism, Christians perform baptism, traditionalists perform baptism. It is the same way every year. If you go to the India, you go to the river Ganges, thousands and millions of Hindus all over the world, they come to the river Ganges not to play poker, not to eat shawarma, not to eat biryani. They don't come there to eat chapati. They come there to bathe the river Ganges, to purify themselves of all the sins of the past, whatever atrocities they might have found themselves in. That is baptism where? In India, in Hinduism. The same way you go into the Catholic Church and you find the holy water outside that has been consecrated that you need to bless yourself with before you enter in there. It's the same way before you enter into the mosque, you have to also ablute before you can enter. It is the same way. Before you can enter into the Hindu temple, you have to wash your hands, your face, and your feet. Ablution, baptism, water, ceremony is a part and parcel of every religion. Among the Buddhists, when they recite the Nyamyo Ringing Kyo, and then somebody is sick, as a Buddhist, what they do is they put the water down, and they recite the Nyamyo Ringing Kyo based on the numbers, and then the energy in the water, the ejo in the water, the ejo that they are emitting from their body based on the sound that they are making will connect with the ejo in the water body. And then after their meditation, after their chants, after their prayers, they will drink it. And what do they get? Healing. The ejo that they have emitted using the Nyamyo Ringing Kyo has connected with the two molecules of hydrogen in the water and the one molecule of oxygen in the water. And they have transmuted. A transmutation has taken place. The energy levels in that water has raised. The vibration levels has raised. So now, when they drink it, they will have healing in their mind, in their body, and in their what? Their soul. So water, basically, water is something that, is used to express the ejo in us and the ejo in the cosmics. And when the ejo in us and the ejo in the cosmics come together, there's a transmutation. There's alchemy that takes place. And the end result of that alchemy is the ejojo. The end result of ejojo becomes jojo. The end result of jojo becomes juju. Any questions before I move on? Auntie Bita, how are you doing? You're looking good. You're welcome. Any questions? I know you all have a whole bunch of barrage of them. Let's get it interactive, or you need time to process a little bit. Okay. So back to, yes, please. And before you even add that one, before you ask your question, when the Rastaman want to do Nyabingi, you understand? Rastaman need water to what? Bubble the chalice, right? Rastaman need water. They say what Jamaicans say, Rastaman need water to go bubble chalice. And without chalice, the Nyabingi session is incomplete. So we can't have a full, proper Nyabingi session if there is no water to bubble the chalice, because chalice must bubble. And chalice is not bubbled with sun. Chalice is bubbled with water. Please ask your question. I saw the dreadlocks and I remembered I had to chip in the yard man somewhere.
So my question is, why water? What is it about the water? And why does everyone use it?
Okay, that's a very good question. Thank you very much. Water is life. When a man and a woman come together to form a baby, the man releases the sperm that is carried by water. The woman releases the egg. The egg is carried by water. Now, these two waters will come together. The sperm will fertilize the egg. The egg will turn into a fetus. And then the fetus would spend 9 months laying, growing, developing in what? In water. So without water, there's no life. The building blocks of all animal life is amoeba. The aquatic life is amoeba. So without water, we cannot have amoeba or spirogyra. So those are the building blocks. You need water to bathe, water to cook, water to wash, water to refresh. We need water for every aspect of life. Your body is made up of 70% of water. My body is made up of 70% water. Her body is made up of 70% water. Your brain is made up of 85% water. Your marrow is made up of 65% water. Your liver is made up of over 80% of water. Your spleen, your lungs, every single aspect of your body, including the plasma in your blood, which is made up of water and protein. So water is actually the genesis of life. So water actually, in the broader context of African traditional understanding, water represents the divine feminine, which is also a major representative or representation of the God divine. Because in Africa, it's only a few tribes that actually attribute God as a male. But 90% of all African tribes understand God to be a female. But then, in our understanding, we say that the secrets of the power of the universe is with the male or the man. But the secrets behind that power, is with what? The woman. So in Africa, we have three main primordial forces, which is the heavens, the earth, and then the sea. The heaven represents the sky god. The earth represents the female or the mother earth. And then the sea also represents the mother of the ocean, which is Yamaya. So that is why these ladies need to understand and allow us, the men, to have two wives. You need to understand that. You need to allow us. Because it is part and parcel of our belief system, part and parcel of our DNA. God of the sky with the goddess, of the earth, and then the goddess of the sea. Because when the king sits, and he looks to his right, he needs to see somebody there. When the king sits and looks to the left, exactly. Are we signing the agreement today? No. Okay, are we signing that memorandum today? Yes, so that is why water plays such an important role. And water is also it's a solvent that actually does not have any color. Water takes the color you give it. Water does not have any form. Water takes the form you give it. If you put it in a bucket, it will take the form of a bucket. You put it in a bottle, it will take the form of a bottle. Any form that you give water, it will take. If you freeze it, it will become frozen. If you put it in the fire, it will transmute and become air. So water can take so many different forms, and it can flow. It's a good absorber of energy. It absorbs all energies, powerful energies. It also transmits energy. So on its own, water per se actually has, these spiritual properties, these conductive properties that is hidden inside water that allows, it to be the way it is. So from ancient of days, we have already known that water has played a major role when it comes into history, because even our people, 95% of all the settlements in Africa, all the villages, the towns, everybody settled by the river bank. So how did people find their present day locations? All they had to do was just follow the river flow. So they got to places that were conducive for them. You see, when you get lost in the river, our elders say it all the time, when you get lost in the river and you want to find your way home, just follow the flow of the river. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
You spoke earlier about the power of religion versus the fact that religion doesn't allow as much freedom. You also talked about the crystallization of the power that people give to it. So it's really not the religion itself, but it's the power that's given to it. Why is it that over the years, JUJU has been so demonized. Even listening to you when you talked about, I think in African traditions, over 90% or 95% of the belief is that God is a woman. But now we have a religion that's very much God is the form of a white man. So even in this belief, it changes the way we even relate to each other, the way we even respect each other, even the roles we assign each other. So I want you to please explain why is JUJU so demonized and how that perception really changed how it affected how we relate to one another in the realm of spirituality.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think your phone is on.
No,
Oh, somebody's phone. Oh no. So to answer that question, the reason why JUJU is so demonized is, first and foremost, the colonizers came with a business plan. They came with a business plan. The plan required them to have strategies. Now, they just didn't come in the first time and started taking slaves. They came when we were in ancient Kemet. They came to study in the University of Alexandria. The Aristotles, they came to study. The Socrates, they came to study. All of them came to study. And they realized with the African, the only way you can conquer the African is to take his or her spirit. It's the only way. Don't fight the African. Don't go to war with the African. Just take the spirit away from him or her. Once you take the spirit from them, then they cease to function. They will cease to function once you take the spirit away from them. So, when they built the first castle, and the second castle, the third castle, the fourth, and all these places, what did they do? They built all of them on our shrines. They built the castle on the shrine and built the church on top of the castle. So as long as that church is on top of the shrine, it is a science, it's a spell in the universe. They already put a spell out. The spell is out there. And the spell has been working for hundreds of years. And it will continue to work for thousands of years. Unless we find a way to reverse that spell. And where did they choose to actually place the churches? If you go to Elmina and Cape Coast Castle, watch exactly where the churches upstairs, exactly where they are placed. They are placed in the dungeons, you know. They are placed right on top of the dungeon. So the cry, the bloodshed, the tears, the sweat of your forefathers became food for their gods. They fed off energy. They fed off power to establish whatever needed to be established. They fed off the blood. There were thousands of people that lost their lives. Thousands of blood were shed to establish, to be the foundation, the building blocks of that civilization. So, that is just one issue. When the Portuguese came, then they found our traditional priests performing rites. And you see, within the shrine and the temple system, everything is based on art. We have a lot of artistic features, carvings, images. You know, everything is very artistic. And in Portuguese language, how do they name our system? They say that this is fetico. They called it fetico. Fetico is just a piece of artwork. Fetico could just mean this chair. Fetico could mean this microphone. Fetico could be even the outfit you are wearing. Fetico is just a piece of artwork. Fetico. So they said we are traditional, we are fetish priests. Priests that were actually worshipping art pieces, artifacts, ornaments. And now we have also accepted those words and we call ourselves fetish priests and fetish priestesses. And you have learned people who are supposed to know better, referring to this practice as fetish. Continuing from where the Portuguese left us. We are traditional priests, traditional priestesses. We do traditional practices and traditional ceremonies. We don't do anything at center. No, we don't do none of that. All those ones are just representatives. Because when you see those images, right, those Vodun images, do you know why we have the Vodun images? You have the artifacts and all those things. Now, if I want to see a picture of you, I can go online and just give me your name. I can go to your page, your social media page, and I can find a picture of you, right? Because you're a physical being. I can take out my phone and snap a picture of her. I will have her picture on my phone. But these entities are spiritual entities that don't reveal themselves until probably when you are asleep. They reveal themselves in dreams and in visions. So when the spiritual entities reveal themselves to whoever they reveal themselves to, then they will go to the carver and describe what they saw in the dream. So the carver will carve the image they saw in a dream as a replica. So those images are physical photographs of spiritual beings and spiritual entities. That is what gave birth to the effigies, all those artifacts, and the Shango artifacts, the Ogun artifacts, the Yemaya artifacts, and all those things. They were entities that revealed themselves to human beings, and then who went to carvers, told the carver what they saw, how they saw it. Then the carver will now replicate what you saw in a dream to represent what you saw that nobody saw. So then that way, what you saw in a dream, thousands of people can see it and then reflect and know that, oh, this particular entity, this is how it looks. So the concept of JUJU that gives the black people power, Africans power, if you want to understand why, right? We have still been at this particular age or in this particular moment. I want somebody to just Google King Leopold's letter to the missionaries. And then once I finish reading that, you know, that will clarify everything for us. King Leopold's letter. King Leopold from Belgium. Yes. Exactly. So it is something that has actually been programmed for us. You understand? Because King Leopold captures everything. So if you can open that for me. King Leopold, yeah, Leopold, King Leopold's letter to the missionaries. Yeah, and he emphatically stated everything clearly. So what King Leopold was actually emphasizing, you know, talking to the missionaries was this. He told the missionaries, like, wherever you are going, these people already know God. These people, they are some of the most well-behaved people in the world. They're some of the most cautious people in the world. They're some of the most highly civilized people in the world. However, don't go telling them about any other God. Just go there and dissuade them from practicing what they practice that gives them that power to serve those gods and those entities. So King Leopold actually created a blueprint of how the missionaries should come in and make sure anything that had to do with tradition, any single thing that had to do with tradition. So it's not JUJU alone that is under attack. Your name was the first thing that was under attack. Because in Africa, your name is what qualifies you to be a part of the society. So if you are Adwoa Mansa, and then the society knows you as Adwoa Mansa, and then the colonizer comes and says, no, you are Josephine, whatever. Now, what the colonizer has done is that he has taken the identity away from you. You don't belong to that society again. You don't belong to the environment again. You don't belong to the clan again because you don't have a clan name. The clan is not called like that. There's nobody in the clan 1,000 years ago that was named the way you are named. So change their names first and foremost. Once you change their names, then you have actually changed the trajectory of your mind, your body, and your spirit. change the name, change the food, change the language, beat them. Let them know that the local language is vernacular. Beat them until they learn our language. If they don't go to church, they don't worship the way we worship, beat them till they worship like the way we do. Beat them till they speak like the way we speak. Beat them till they dress like the way we dress. Beat them till they think like the way we think. So that the whole idea is to make us second-rate colonizers. Second-rate colonizers. Wanna-be colonizers. And the wanna-be colonizer is more dangerous than the official colonizer, because the wanna-be colonizer already has pain, uncertainty about themselves, and they're trying so much to please massa. So they're going to do anything to make sure that they're in the good books of who? Massa. We'll take 3 questions, and then 3 questions. Yes, Nana Champo, I see you.
Why are you wearing a crucifix?
That's a very good question. I intentionally wore it today because I was waiting for the question. I said, you know what, let me wear this crucifix today because of the topic. So somebody was going to ask me a question, and you've actually proven your acumen as a professor. Yes, I wore this because the crucifix actually represents the 4 cardinal points. North, south, east, and west, right? And in our tradition, we have the Epuye, Atoye, Anafo, and Netifi, which means north, south, east, and west. However, it has been misconstrued in so many different ways and forms. And also the crucifix, the 4 cardinal points also represent the Nkwantanai. So we have the Akwantimpong, which is the straight road. Then we have the Nkwanta, which is the two-pronged junction. And then we have the Nkwantabisa, or the Nkwantasa, or Nkwantabisa. The Nkwantabisa is the 3 intersection. And then we have the Nkwantanai. The Nkwantanai is the 4 intersection. So the crucifix on my neck actually represents the 4 intersections. And the 4 intersection actually represents the intersection of all knowledge, the intersection of all spirit, the intersection of all divinity, intersection of all power, intersection of all humanity, because African spirituality is the only practice that I know that we keep adding. We don't take anything away from it. Christianity is accepted in it, Islam is accepted, Muslim is accepted, Hinduism, Buddhism, African spirituality keeps adding. It never rejects. It never, as long as you are talking about energy, because it feeds off energy. So it just keeps adding. It keeps adding. It keeps adding. So this is an intersection of the knowledge systems. I was waiting for that question. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, please.
Yes, I was thinking that how do we dispel the myth of JUJU? And have you got a definition of JUJU? Because people think, oh, straight away it conjures up negativity. So I just want that to be dispelled because I know that it's powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, I practice JUJU, but not the lifetime.
Okay, okay. So we have some allies in the house. Yes, so from the past 2 weeks, for the past 3 weeks, that's what we've been trying to do, is just to dispel the negative notion of JUJU. And before I started, I said JUJU comes from the root word ejo, which is a foreign language. The ejo means energy. In the literal sense, ejo means fire. However, in the figurative sense, ejo means energy. You know, it means all forms of energy. Energy from the sun, the moon, the trees, the animals, energy from ourselves, energy from everywhere, you know, from water bodies, springs, you know, waterfalls and all those things. All the energies that make the world or keep the world alive, all those energies are called ejo. Now, there are 2 forms of ejo. The first ejo is the internal chi that Christians call Holy Spirit. So when we are talking about JUJU or ejo, we are talking about the Holy Spirit. When we are talking about the ejo inside your body, the anime inside your body, we are talking about chi. And the Chinese will say chi, tai chi. When we are talking about ejo, we are talking about ki. The Japanese will say ki. When we're talking about the ejo in your body, we are talking about the ruach. The ruach is the Hebrew understanding of ejo. When we are talking about ejo, then we are talking about ruhu. Ruhu is the Arabic understanding of ejo. The internal ejo, internal chi, the internal ruach, internal prana, when it transmutes with the external. When the internal you and the external you, which is the big universe, when you become one with the universe, you have attained the level of ejo. Ejo. The two energies have emerged. Ejo. Ejo. With the passage of time became ejo. Ejo. With the passage of time became JUJU. JUJU. With the passage of time became JUJU. So it is all about understanding the etymology. If you understand the word, you will not be scared of the word. And if you understand the word, then nobody can sway you from your path. Understanding, they say, wisdom buildeth the house, but understanding finishes it. Thank you. Does it answer your question?
Yes, I mean, I'm aware of it.
Exactly.
And there's another word, obia, as well.
Yes.
Obia.
That's what the Jamaicans use, the obia, and that's a word Jamaicans don't really want to, hear about it, because there are so many words that Jamaicans use, like doppy, right? Yeah, doppy is from the word adope. Adope means a gnome or a dwarf, the forest dwarf. So you might use doppy, adope, and they change it to doppy. Obia is beye. Beye, that white people or the colonizers will say witchcraft, but we call it beye, which is somebody who is a genius. Somebody who has the mind of a genie is obia, is beye. Somebody who can do wonderful stuff is beye. Whether you have the gift of oratory is beye. Whether you can play the best football is beye. Whether you have the mind of Einstein is beye. Whether you know how to make money by just flipping your finger is beye. It's all obia. It's in it. It's in us. It's not outside of us. Until we embrace who we are, we will still allow others to define us for who we are not. Any question? Yes. Muhammad, are you good?
Okay, my question is that based on your definition of JUJU, then is it everything? Am I correct?
Yes, please.
Okay, so my thought is, if we take everything and condense it into something that is very small, and we start looking at it as if it was everything, and we make it an object, is that not what we do when we adapt the Fawn's way of describing everything because they wanted to make it them, and they call it a God? So when we start defining energy as God, do we limit the power of energy?
Okay, that's a good question. When we define the energy called God, each and every society in Africa has a definition for the word God, and there's a good reason why they have that definition. In Benin, God is known as Maulisa. Maui is a female, Lisa is the son. Lisa is Jesus Christ literally, Jesus Christ in Benin. Mau gave birth to Lisa, and Mau gave the world to Lisa to rule. If you come into Akan, we have Odumankuma. Odumankuma created the universe and gave the universe to Nyame or Nyankopon to rule. If you go to the Volta region, they also have Sogbe, Maui Sogbe Lisa. The Sopolisa, right? So the Mawu is God, then the Sopolisa is the creation that came out of God that actually supersedes our everyday life. If you come to Accra, the name for God is Atana Nyumo, the male female God. The male and female is what? Hermaphrodite, right? No, there's supposed to be a name. Something which has male and female.
Genitalia?
Yeah. Hermaphrodite. Yes. So the hermaphrodite God. And most of the definitions of God is actually based on that concept. So every environment and how they encountered God. Some of the tribes during their migration, some of them were very thirsty. Like thirsty. People were actually dying out of thirst. And by divine chance or by divine purpose, during the travels, they came or chanced upon a stream of water. That stream of water is what saved the thousands of people who were migrating. So the prayer that they were praying to the universe to save them the answer came in the form of what? So those tribes, that stream there, that is God to them. Some were so hungry, right? They were crying out for food. They had access to water, they didn't have food. They chanced upon this big tree with so many ripe fruits. They spent a week or two just living under that tree, eating from its fruits. The prayer that they prayed to the universe for salvation came in the form of that particular tree. So that particular tree represents God to them. So every migration has its story and its definition of God. So people or every tribe or every group of people have an understanding of how they encountered the divine. So based on the encounter of the divine, that is how they understand God to be. If you come to the Accra, the understanding of God is the sea. Because the people in Accra never grew up like the people in Ashanti region who are in the forest zone. So their understanding of God, their ceremonies, their rituals and everything is the sea-based, water-based. When you come to the Akan lands, the understanding of God is totally different because they are living in the forest belt. So they see different things that actually gives them an understanding of God. If you go to the northern side, because that is the savanna zone, and it's all sand and sand and sand and grassland, they have a totally different understanding of God and then a different approach and different symbolism. So there's always the smaller one and the bigger one. You cannot quantify the big one. So you need to find a way to decipher it, to be able to even compress it to a point where your own body can be able to assimilate. But nobody has been able to define the totality of that energy, that power, that entity, the source of life called God. Nobody has been able to fully define it. Everybody has an understanding of it. Everybody has a piece of the puzzle. So everybody needs to bring a piece of the puzzle to the table. We put it in one pot and we make one big light soup out of it.
And before we get to your question, just to add to it, I think we come from a religion where everything consolidated, like Jesus is the person of this person. So we don't have the concept of like, my sister over there is to a God, like has the nature of God in her. He has the nature of God. So we think like everything has to be exclusive for certain people or certain persons, but we are each, we understand the etymology of JUJU, like we are each divine beings.
Exactly.
But I think my sister over here has a question.
So, my question is, when we were narrating the water aspects, we talked about the Muslim, the Christian, and the Catholic. Now, what I know is, okay, with the Hindu, before they get into the temple, they also have their Buddha. I didn't know, I just got it. But I know there's something called confirmation in the Catholic Church. And where the Hindus, their baptism is confirmation with fire. Now, at which point does the fetish,
The traditional.
The traditional
Yeah.
uses fire. And on And if all that I said is also right, if you can elaborate a bit on
Okay.
Hinduism and the Catholic as well.
Yeah, Hinduism and Catholicism are very similar. Because first and foremost, when we're talking about the rosary, you find the rosary, the prayer beads in Islam, you find the prayer beads in Buddhism, you find the prayer beads in Hinduism, you find the prayer beads in most of these other religious settings, you know, which is an old practice that we used to do back in Kemet, using the rosary to count the prayers. So in the traditional sense, we use fire through candles. Yes, because during the prayers, after we finish with all the ceremonies, we need to light up candles and prayers. And then before we can even start a festival, before any festival can begin, there is a big ritual of lighting the fire. Before any festival at all can even proceed, there is the gathering of the wood and the lighting of fire. So that lighting of fire ceremony is actually what brings or what calls all the other entities, you know, into attention, and then they come into being and become present at the temple or at the shrine before all the ceremonies can begin. So yes, it's true. The confirmation, because I was born a Catholic, I did my how do you call it? The ones that you have to go. Yo, Leander, help me. We actually went to the same Catholic church. Yeah, I went to St. Teresa's Catholic. She's also a St. Teresa's Catholic. No, what we go, catechism, right? Catechism. It's been a while, so forgive me. Yeah, catechism. After catechism, then what next? Confirmation. No, baptism, first communion, before, and then confirmation.
3 months.
Yes. So confirmation is when, you know, like the Mugu boys will say, the Mugu has confirmed with them. It means now you are fully accepted. You understand? Now you have been given a seat. You've gone through your trial season, and now you are fully accepted in the Catholic Church. I was a Catholic. My father is a Catholic. My father was a Catholic. I was a Catholic. I was a mass server before I went to Presby and all the other things, you know. So yes, I know bits and pieces of Catholicism, and you know. Yes, Professor Champon. Oh, okay. Okay. Holy Mary, full of grace. The Lord be with you. Yes, but
I was just wondering
okay.
where fire comes in. But it's just like in our villages, everything we do is now with lights.
That's what I was saying. You can't do the ceremony without the fire.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. And so, you talk about energy and all that. Why do we have to create a God? Even if we have God said, why do we always keep creating? I don't understand.
Professor Champon, I didn't create that one. No. That one we all came into being, and it's like a mystery. You know, sometimes you just keep asking yourself, why do we need to create God? Why do we need to? So I asked somebody, and they said, God is a needful weapon or a needful tool, you know, in human society, because first and foremost, our people naturally, Africans believe in a supreme being. We always believe that there is something, as powerful as we are, there's something that actually gave birth to this form. There's an intelligence that is higher than. So the search for that higher intelligence also gets you into contact with other higher beings, other terrestrial forces, other extraterrestrial forces, and other tetra-terrestrial forces. And all these terrestrial forces, they also succumb to higher energies. So it keeps going and going and going, and then you get to the Metatrons, and then you get to the Zagrammatons, you get to all those, the angels, the archangels, the and it keeps going. So right from the concept, come again please. No, as real. Yes, it's real, but you need to practice. To be able to break into those dimensions, it takes practice. So what we are doing right now here is just we are having the conversations around it, but then to really experience what you are saying, it will take practice. But that one is a whole different ball game. So the concept of God actually did not emanate with the colonizers. Before they came, just like the King Leopold said, he said these people, they are well aware of God. They know all those concepts. They have all the rules, that govern those concepts. So thank you very much, Prof. 2 more and then we are done, right? Okay.
My question is, sometimes young people reach out to me and they want to understand, there's like a little bit of confusion about genders, and in African spirituality it seems sometimes mixed genders are accepted, even homosexuality is accepted in certain practices. So I'd like you to explain some of the different African practices that accepts different genders and homosexuality and intersex and all of those things, if you can. Thank you.
Yes, I personally do not know of any African system or practice where homosexuality or same-sex practice is actually accepted. But I know in certain places it has become a subculture, and they blame all that on Mami Water. Because once you get into the Mami Water zone as a male, you can actually transmute and become a female. You can become a female at a point in time. You can, at one moment, you can become a total female in your looks, in your act, and then you change back to a male. But then when those men change into the female, they change in the female sphere, and then, people want to have their ways with them. And once people have their ways with them, that becomes a subculture. Because people have not understood that transmutation. Because when I went deep into Mami, like I was telling you the last time, I didn't even tell you, somebody told you, right? There was a point in time I didn't go out again. I had to be in the room for like 6 months because I actually transformed and became a woman. Yes, 6 months. I became a woman because once you get into Mami Water and you go deep into it, you will become. She will take over your body. No matter who you are, you will become a woman at a point in time. So along with the rest of your life, there are certain times you will become a woman, certain times you will become a man. But then it's all part of the process because of the energy. But then they get caught in that. And then most of the people, the big priests who are actually sponsoring the younger ones, they have their ways with them and then confuse them for them to believe that this is a Mami Water practice. This is not an African traditional religious practice. Because
so I think it's been happening in Europa. They've been doing a shifting and gender fluidity.
When you are a woman, when you change into a woman, just change into a woman. If you change into a man, then you change into a man. Obatala is a male, but Obatala can also change into every spirit, every divinity can change into so many different forms. But as a male, as a female, as long as I know, it's either you are a male or you are a female. So you need to choose.
But I've heard that in the Dagara kind of system, cosmology, they have groups of people who they say they are like the guardians of certain portals. And those people, to be a guardian of a particular type of portal, you must practice homosexuality, whether it's 2 women or 2 men, because of the certain types of portals that they are in charge of. And I've also heard this also in some of the Ewe, but I haven't met anyone who knows all of those kinds of systems.
I will have to write it down,
okay,
and then call my people from Dagomba so that they can give me more. Yes, I would love to go into that. Sabine, are we good? Okay. Yes. One last question. One last question. Yes, then we'll continue.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
All right, so I want to ask, how do we juxtapose between fetishism and then ancestral worship? Yes.
Fetishism is something that never exists. Fetishism never exists. Fetishism has never existed before. Fetishism is a concept that was sold to us by the Portuguese. It was an idea, their interpretation of our divine spiritual system. So we as Africans have never known anything called fetishism, because the root word fetish actually, like I said, comes from the word fetico, which is a Portuguese word meaning artwork or piece of artwork. So all these pieces of artwork that they came to see in the shrine, they named it as fetico. So if you're a traditional priest, they will label you as a fetico priest. So fetishism is something very alien to us. Ancestral worship, ancestral veneration is what we know. Because fetishism then comes with all the negative connotations of blood sacrifice, and it comes with the negative connotations of human sacrifice, dark magic, all these type of things. So to answer your question, fetishism has never been a part and parcel of our DNA. However, African ancestral veneration or worship is what we do, and that is what we are doing right now. Yeah.
Okay. So again, you were talking about the misconception and all that. The misconception, don't you think we are the reasons why, or the people practicing the traditional religion are the reason why people are staying away from it? Because when you do something small, they will tell you, you will see. You will see. And definitely, in my hometown, when you tell someone you will see, the next day you have to be in the chief palace. You have to prove that you will see the meaning, or else you go and sleep and you won't wake up. So don't you think because of some of these things, that is why it is considered as evil?
Yeah, when you have power, sometimes you need to exercise it, you know, and especially in our system, we have divinities that are purposely for that purpose. People like Tigari, Yago, Atiaya, Atiamframa, and those things, they are there purposely as security officers. They are justice, you know, keepers of justice, Shango and all those things. So if you misbehave in a society and I have a divinity of justice and I have not done what you said I have done, what do you expect me to do? You want me to blow you a kiss? No, you will see. So then I have to go see the divinity and then tell the divinity what the problem is and leave that for the divinity to decide, you know, what, you know, because once I have the divinity, I have every right to go lay my problems before the divinity. This person said, I have done A, B, C, D. I am innocent. So prove me right or prove me wrong. That is between you and the divinity, you know. So yes, pastors also curse all the time. They come on social media and they be cursing me, do me. How many pastors haven't do me anybody? They are there on social media every day on TikTok. Me do me. Am I telling lies? So, but people still go to church. It's just not about that. It's something deeper than that. But it has something that has to do with something that has been programmed in the DNA. Because now they've made you to believe that one there is wrong. Even this pastor can go take the spirit's energies from the shrine, come and use it for church, and everybody knows this pastor is using JUJU, but they rather go to the pastor rather than to come to the traditional priest. We know all these ones. Why? Because of the mindset, you see, and because the pastor will also put on a nice, beautiful tie and suit and look the bit. You understand? Or look the part. But in our system, you have to be exactly dressed the way you are supposed to dress, move the way you are supposed to move. We don't compromise. And people love compromises. So if you compromise, people will come to you. So people will rather go to the church because they will compromise and accommodate them. But over here, there are no compromises. It's either you are in or you are out. So thank you very much, each and everyone. Then we will continue. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hello. Please, did we enjoy ourselves? Yes. And I knew that if we don't cut it short for the next item to come in, it means that we are going to be talking and talking and talking and talking. So, because time is of essence, we will quickly go to the next item. We are going to be watching a short premiere of When Malcolm Smiled. Now, before we do so, I want to give a brief introduction about the person of interest here. So she is in the person of Muhammida Muhajir. The name, please forgive me. She is a filmmaker and a global strategist whose work bridges culture, innovation, and identity. She directed Hip Hop, the New World Order, the first global documentary on hip hop, and the short film When Malcolm Smiled. That is what we are going to be watching today. It is a poetic reflection on Malcolm X's 1964 visit to Ghana. With a career spanning over 25 countries, she has led brand strategies for global giants like Nike, Mercedes-Benz, with a focus on Africans' emerging markets. She is a Howard University graduate and continues to shape narrative and drive cultural impact through film and strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, let us put our hands together for the person of interest. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much for that introduction. I would prefer to speak a bit after we see the film so we can discuss, but I will say that I think that the presentation that Nana led will tie into the film and some of the things that were said about the power of African spirituality, which is something that I infused in this short film. As the description of the film, it is a reimagination of Malcolm X's 1964 visit to Ghana. Now, some of these things are historical in nature and other things are my reimagination. And part of that is the spiritual piece, which you will see in the film, and I'm open to the discussion after you've seen it. Thank you. Yeah, so I said I'd rather leave, comments to afterwards. So open to hearing any feedback, questions, comments that you may have about the short film. Yes. Okay, songs, yeah.
Hello, Auntie. My question is, yesterday I had the pleasure of sitting down and having an audience with John Carlos. He was, for anyone who doesn't know, he is the freedom fighter who raised his fist at the 1968 Olympics. And he mentioned actually meeting with Malcolm X and Martin Luther King in his time in the States. How easy is it for us to get this into all the schools? Because what he was mentioning is that a lot of the freedom fighters, a lot of the people who were fighting the battles are older now, and we need to get this into the young people because they're the ones that are going to be able to fight the battles. Because a lot of these people are old now. They're past their time, and so how do we get this into schools, and how do we get the young people to take on that fight? Because it's a fight that needs to be fought, I believe, anyway.
Yeah, well, I created this piece for education and engagement. Some people are like, are you doing film festivals? And I'm like, this is what I made the film for, right? So you saw they had a dinner in the film, and I've been recreating those dinners around the world, because this is how change happens, like right in the room. We are the ones, right? So I would say also from these screenings, I'm open to any connections that people have. If you are a teacher or you work in a school and it's a tool that you would like to use, or you have a referral, I'm open. This is a piece, it wasn't made for money or anything. I funded it myself, so I'm open to using it for engagement. Nana is using it as a part of his course. So this is a tool that is accessible. If you find value in it and you think that the community can find value in it, speak to me and I'm open to using it. Thank you. Okay, yes.
Apologies for the British takeover. But I wanted to know, why now? What was your inspiration to do it now and to use that segment of the story?
Well, one thing is in May 19, 2025 was Malcolm X's El-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz, was his centennial birthday. So he turned 100 years, he would have been 100 years old in May. So that inspired me to think about what could I do as a content creator, what could I do to honor his legacy and the spirit that he lived in and worked in, and that I'm continuing to live in. So that is why now. That's why now. And the story, this particular story, as someone who lives in Ghana, and knowing that he had an experience here, it wasn't hard to imagine what that trip would have been like, right? For all of us here that lives here, when people come to visit, you do these things. And so I kept seeing the pictures of Malcolm and Maya together and wondering, oh, what was that trip like? Wait, I know what that trip is like. That's the trip that everybody who comes to visit me, I do this. I introduce them to the foods. The spiritual ceremony is something that I think I put that intentionally in the film, because as Nana said earlier in the talk, the spells have to be reversed, right? Now that's a piece I definitely don't know if that happened or not, but it's something that could have happened, and it should happen when all of us come and touch down on the soil. It's a powerful ritual that needs to be done to reverse 500 years of spells that was, that were put on us from the bondage and oppression. So that's something that I felt like I just wanted to put that visually so people would have it in their minds that that's something that can happen and should happen. Yes.
Two-part, two questions. One was that the voice sounded very like Nana Malcolm. So was that a recording from him or somebody was speaking for him?
I would say I tapped in the new technology. I wasn't sure how people were going to receive it, but I really wanted it to, you get the feeling of him in the film, because, the actor, I think having the voice with him really kind of brought it, to life a bit more. So yeah, no, that was a bit of AI. Good use, okay, right? Okay.
Well done. It's very much sounding. The other part was that what you showed I really appreciated the spiritual ceremony and the explanation that he had, because I was asking a question earlier and I wasn't quite sure if I could ask it in a way that I could really make it understood, but I could use your film to do that, because he said that he committed only to Allah, and that they were explaining that that was part of all the energy that was before. And that's what I was saying. Sometimes we take on this concept that we learn called God, that can be defined into certain limited terms. And therefore, because we are limited, we can't reach to the depth of our full power and ability. And I thought that part of the film showed that, and especially like the acceptance of going into that step, because I think that's what we all have to do. We have to get rid of this God concept and come to a total energy concept that we're part of. So I appreciate that in the film.
Okay, you're welcome. Yeah, thank you. All right, any other questions? Okay, well, I would encourage you all to follow the journey of When Malcolm Smiled on our social media. It's at Malcolm Smiled, and I'm happy to collect anyone's contacts to keep you involved in the journey. Where we're going this weekend on Sunday. I'm screening this film in Nigeria, and actually there was some pictures. I know until you get to the end, sometimes some of the scenes people are like, you know, why does she have him sitting there with those ladies, or, you know, different things. But some of the pictures you see in the actual pictures, aside from it being Malcolm X's 100th year birthday, and, you know, looking at the story of him and Maya, some of those pictures were him in Nigeria, on his trip to Nigeria. And one of the ones that captured me, I was like obsessed with this picture, and it also inspired the name of the film, is the picture of him sitting, he was at a reception in Nigeria with like the two ladies. And every time I looked at that picture, I was like, I have never seen Malcolm X, a picture of him like that vulnerable. He's actually blushing in the picture. I could see him blushing in the picture. And it's such like a natural human moment that we never see. We're always seeing this like strong revolutionary with a rifle in the window, you know. We don't think about him. There are lots of different ways. Even I see him as a fashion icon, you know, as a style icon. That's why part of it is kind of like looking at him from a fashion lens, because there's all these multiple sides of who he was and who we are. And I think sometimes we limit our heroes to like one side, and they have like all these dimensions. And so those are just some of the things that I wanted to bring out. So yes, and I just, another personality that like made a cameo in the film just stepped into the room. So Kwekuti, thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining us in the film. The film is all my personal friends, literally. None of them are actors, including the Malcolm character. He's like a model and a designer, and I just cast him. Nana, I feel like I called the day before. Kweku came through. Everybody just came through. They didn't even really know exactly what I was doing until I think we saw the final piece. So I'm appreciative to everyone. And I think that, as you said, it is a story. First of all, a lot of people don't know about the time that he spent in Ghana and in Africa, because it was very close to the end of his life. Less than 1 year before he was assassinated, he came to Ghana and all of the African countries. He had come other times, but you know, he came, and I think he felt the urgency of this trip. And also he was tapping into the power that I'm sure he felt, because you know we all feel it being here, so we can only imagine what he felt when he was here. And I'm sure that was, you know, giving him just like more energy to move on, and, you know, the urgency. So it wasn't a lot about, you know, there's not a lot about this trip. And so I wanted to kind of highlight that connection. And also for Ghanaians to really understand how important this country is for like the global Black diaspora. I think Ghanaians don't always understand how important this place is. It literally is the Black Star. So that's another reason why I really want to show it locally too, so people understand this place that, you know, people are trying to escape or think is like a horrible place. It is so important, and it continues to be important. And I want people to see that as well. Thank you. Oh, do you have a question? Sorry.
I'm holding the mic. I just want to say thank you for that, because I really felt that spirit, the whole, even the food, because I remember reading in one of Maya Angelou's book, that scenery, and you seeing it there really touched me. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for that energy.
Yes.
thought about, but I didn't think to say it when I was here, was that the name of the film is excellent. Because when you hear Maya Angelou, Nana John Henry Clark, even Isaiah Davis, when they talk about Nana Malcolm, they always say, when Malcolm smiled. And when I watch his videos, I always see it. I don't think I've probably ever seen a picture. In fact, I looked at some when you were showing where he wasn't smiling, even in the face of his enemy. He was always smiling, and it's like it could touch you, even from the
photo, an image.
His smile is overwhelming. It's like he brought a whole lot of people with him.
And there were things about him that I just kind of like, as doing a bit of research, like I didn't realize how tall he was. He was 6'4". Like that is, I mean, you know, that is a prominent kind of figure and personality that went along with, you know, the oratory skills and everything. He had the look, the style, the swag. It was like the intelligence, the brilliance. It was like a complete, you know, package. And I wanted to just kind of show all those, as I mentioned, many different sides to him that we sometimes maybe minimize or tend to overlook, but, you know, they were all a part of him. Thank you.
So you would want to clap again. On that, I'll be taking your number. Because I am a strategic communication student. So a little bit about branding and the rest of you. So I would want to learn a thing or two from you, if that is okay with you. Yeah. So I have a number. You can come from a number from me. So just like whenever there's a time for beginning, there's always a time to end. So slowly, we are coming to the end of the event, the whole event for today. So the person to give us the closing remarks will be in the person of Mr. David Asante. Ladies and gentlemen, let us put our hands together for him.
Okay, so we are grateful for this insightful conversation and what we learned today. So we do hope that at the end of this conversation, we wouldn't be demonizing JUJU and any misconception about JUJU and any bad thought we have about it will be changed. So thank you for coming and enjoy your day.